first go to the Queen's Palace, a bunch of the animals are stuffed into one little carriage while the doctor rides behind them on an ostrich, and the boy somehow stows away. Like, I don't even know how they fit all of them into the carriage. Like, they don't even make that a joke. Like, I feel like they could have very easily have been a joke. Like, because he put the polar bear in there, the gorilla, the duck, the dog, and the girl. And for some reason, and then when the polar bear comes out, it's like he sticks out, because he's a polar bear. He's huge. But then, when the other animals come out, and they, and when that happens, it startles the guards. Like, oh my gosh. And then the girl comes out, and she's fine. Like, she doesn't make, she's not like, oh, I had to stay there with those animals. Like, no, there's none of that. She basically has no character. And that just really frustrates me. And that could have been a funny moment. But, of, having them have, this clown car in this. But, no. And also, there was also no point in even bringing the polar bear or the gorilla, because they didn't do anything when he was, diagnosing the queen. There were some other weird characters, for example, there was the king of the pirate island, which I'll get more into him in the spoiler talk. There was also a dragonfly, played by Jason Mantzoukas. Okay, so his deal is that he used to be in love with this ant, who was the daughter of this, ant mafia. Yeah, there's a scene where there's an ant mafia. And they say, you come to me on the day of my daughter's wedding. They literally say that, and I'm just like, Zootopia did it better. That other talking animal movie. But anyway, it turns out the dragonfly used to be in love with the ant's daughter, and now she's in love with a scorpion. It's like, what's with all these interspecies relationships? Those are all completely different, separate species of insect and arachnid. How would that work? That's just really weird. And also, the dragonfly is supposedly an old associate of Dolittle, but Dolittle hasn't left his house in years. And I looked it up, and the average lifespan of a dragonfly is only 6 months. So, how'd that work? So, on top of the characters, just overall the editing, the directing, and the writing is all bad. It's just, all of it is just really lame. I mean, it's so confusing. It's like, I know what the plot is. I just explained what the plot is. It's a very simple plot. It's just like a quest to find a thing, right? But yet, the way they explain it, the way they show it, the way they present it, it's so needlessly confusing. It's like, the pacing, it's just, all over the place. I don't think the movie ever gives you the time to, establish these characters or their motivations or anything. It's just, we're going from point A to point B, and, we did that. It's like, oh, the boy wants to learn how to talk to animals. Oh, suddenly he figured it out. Oh, the polar bear and the ostrich are bickering. Oh, now all of a sudden they're best friends. And then there's a scene with an orangutan dressed like Jack Sparrow. That's just completely random. What is that? I don't know. This is just not a very well-made movie. So another thing that's bad is the use of modern slang. I think I already briefed on this with the John Cena polar bear thing, but there's also an octopus that says snitches get stitches, but first of all, who's getting stitches? Who's giving you the stitches? You're an octopus. Who's gonna give you the hurt for tattling? What, are the other fish in the tank? Are they in cahoots with the bad guy? Almost spoiled it, but it doesn't make any sense. And also, it's why? Why can't you just use period-appropriate language in this movie? This isn't a modern movie or, a slapsticky comedy movie. For the animals to say that in, I don't know, the Eddie Murphy Dr. Dolittle movie, I'd be fine with that, because that movie takes place in modern day, and it's a comedy. It's primarily a comedy. This is, an action-adventure movie. So, what is with all this, weird humor to it? And I know I said, oh, that could have been funny, but, it would have been a joke that actually works. This is just using modern slang to try to get hip with the kids. Speaking of the humor, there's a lot of toilet humor in this movie, and that's also why I just think, if you wanted this to be like a comedy movie, you should have gone all out and just made it a comedy, like a straight up comedy movie, and not try to present it as this like grand epic adventure movie. I just don't understand what they wanted out of this. Like, they just want to appeal to everyone. They just wanted to appeal to they want to appeal to families. They wanted to appeal to people who like special effects. They want to appeal to little children that like toilet humor. Like, there's a lot of fart jokes. There's also a nut shot joke, or a kick in the balls joke in the movie. Well, actually, there's not a lot of fart jokes, but there is one very big fart joke that we'll get into. Okay, so, spoiler talk. Ooh. There's not really much to spoil in this movie. I pretty much just told you the whole plot of the movie. I mean, really, the only thing that's really spoilery is, the fact that they win, I guess. They've successfully saved the Queen, and Jim Broadbent is the villain. But, yeah, that's not really hard to see coming. One thing I was kind of wondering when watching this movie, this isn't a legitimate spoiler, this is just a thought that I had. Like, Dr. Dolittle lives in this house all alone with all of these animals, and some of these animals are pretty big. Like, there's a few elephants in there. There's a few elephants and giraffes, and I'm pretty sure there's some horses too. I don't really remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure there were. So it kind of made me wonder, who cleans up all the poop there? Like, we see an establishing, shot of, like, how all the animals get fed through this, like, big, giant Ruth Goldberg machine. But how do they get their poop cleaned up? Who cleans up their poop? I know I just criticized the movie for having toilet humor, and I'm asking this, but animals poop. It's a legitimate question. Animals poop. And big animals make big poops. Someone's got to clean that up. And Dolittle doesn't look like he's doing it. I don't know, maybe he tells the animals to clean up their poop. Maybe he's managed to actually toilet train them all. That would actually be a really cool thing to see. Him actually toilet training all of these animals. Did they even use toilets back then when this movie takes place? Or were people still using chamber pots? I'm not sure. I don't really know exactly when this movie takes place, actually. Speaking of toilet humor, one of the big scenes that a lot of people are talking about this movie is the dragon scene. So, if you haven't seen the movie, buckle up, because guess what happens? Okay, so, first of all, I was really confused when I was watching this, because, like, when they encounter the dragon, obviously the dragon attacks them, and Dolittle is trying to talk to the dragon. We see a shot of, like, the skeleton of another dragon, and he's like, I know what you feel, I know this pain that's sharper than any sword, or hurts more than any bullet, or whatever. And I'm assuming that he's talking about, oh, she's heartbroken because she had a lover or a mate that died, and he can relate, because, his wife died. But then the dragon, collapses, and it turns out the dragon has, indigestion, or, digestive problems, because she's been eating so many people with, random stuff in them. So, first of all, I guess I completely misinterpreted that scene. I guess, oh no, it turns out the dragon isn't heartbroken, she's just got a tummy ache from eating garbage. So there's a scene where they pull a bunch of random items out of the dragon's butthole. So yeah, there's a scene in this movie where Dr. Dolittle, Robert Downey Jr., this actor that people have been praising for his role as Iron Man, as the greatest superhero, sacrificed his life for the whole universe. He's pulling things out of a dragon's anus. And then there's a huge fart when he pulls all of it out. Oddly enough, all these items that he pulls out, like armor, shields, bagpipes, oddly enough, none of these items seem to be covered in a single speck of fecal matter, which is unless dragon poop is invisible. I know, I'm kind of, all over the place with, how I'm, criticizing the movie for having toilet humor, but then I'm having toilet humor. But it's why is it that farts are okay for toilet humor in a children's movie, but poop isn't. It's like, that's too far. Poop is too far. Even like a little speck of poo, that's too far movie. But anyway, there's this one scene shot you probably seen in the trailer of like him having like this wind blow in his face. That's the fart scene. And so I also wanted to elaborate on some other things that I mentioned earlier in my critiques. Basically, okay, so the Antonio Banderas King, he is the father of Doolittle's wife who died. And that's why he hates Dolittle so much, is because Dolittle ran off with his daughter, and then his daughter died. But then, later on, you know, when it turns out, oh, she was also on a quest for the Eden fruit, that's the name of the fruit that they need to cure the queen. You know, he's like, I love my daughter more than I hate you, so I will let you continue her quest. So, I guess that's resolved. Also, when they break into the king's palace, Dolittle puts on a disguise because, you know, he's wanted on the island, but he also puts the kid in a disguise too, and that made me, like, think, why? Because nobody there knows who the kid is. It doesn't make any sense. What's the point of him wearing a disguise? He's never been there. Nobody there knows who he is. It kind of reminds me of this one scene in Spies in Disguise where Will Smith as a pigeon is planning this, like, attack to get past these Yakuza guards, and the Tom Holland kid's like, dude, just walk past them. And the Tom Holland kid manages to walk past them too, because they don't recognize him, because they don't know him. And it's like, how is it that animated movie where Will Smith gets turned into a pigeon is smarter than this live-action, supposedly more adult movie? Oh yeah, and once the kid gets captured and Dolittle gets captured, they just let the kid go because I guess they're like, we haven't got no beef with you. In fact, you know what? You're gonna be our buddy. We trust you. You're one of us now. And I don't know why they thought the kid would just flip sides so easily, because turns out it doesn't work, because he ends up breaking out and stealing the journal. Oh yeah, the reason they went to the pirate island in the first place is to steal his wife's journal. I forgot to mention that. So yeah, that was a thing. So also the villains of the movie, oh boy. Okay, so Michael Sheen plays, I guess, the main villain, because he's like the rival of Dolittle. He's called Mootfly or Mudfly. They call him Mudfly, you know, to make a joke, like, you have a funny name, we're gonna make fun of your name. Yeah, I never heard that gag before. And I swear I thought that was Simon Pegg for like half the movie. I'm like, is that Simon Pegg? Is that Simon Pegg? And then it turns out it's like, and I'm like, no, that's not Simon Pegg. And I don't know what he was doing. He's just hamming up the whole thing. And then at the dragon scene, he's just like, no, I'm good now. And also there's a mid-credits scene where he's like, oh, I can talk to bats now. But then the bats attack him, and I guess they kill him. I don't know, and I don't care. Oh yeah, so it turns out Jim Broadbent's the main villain. He turns out he poisoned the queen, and the reason that they all know this is because the stick insect, Dolittle hides a stick insect to hide in one of the paintings to spy on them. But somehow the stick insect knew that, but the girl didn't, or the dog, because didn't Dolittle trust them to be there the whole time? It's kind of weird how that works. Also, Jim Broadbent apparently kept the vial in his jacket, and that's the, incriminating evidence that he poisoned the queen. Even though I would have thought it would be pretty incriminating that he tried to stop Dolittle from curing the queen, when he got there. Because, all those guards, all of them are guilty, too. Because basically what happens at the end of the movie is that, Dolittle gets there in the nick of time, but then Jim Broadbent's like, kill him, stop him from getting this to the queen, and all the guards are stopping him. And this all happens in the queen's bedroom, by the way. It's the queen's bedroom is almost the only part of this palace that we see. It's the queen's bedroom and the main hallway full of suit of armor. So he stops them, but, they prevail. Dolittle throws a sugar glider with the fruit over the queen's bed, and the boy manages to catch the fruit and squeeze it into the queen's mouth just in the nick of time. The queen is cured. Then that's when, the stick tells Dolittle that Jim Broadbent poisoned the queen. Even though, wouldn't the fact that Jim Broadbent tried to stop them from killing the queen, wouldn't that be, evidence enough? I don't know. I guess not. Alright, so, final thoughts. This movie was a mess. It's a mess, y'all. And not the fun kind of mess. It's not like Cats where it's so bad it's good, or where there's like a madness to the method where you just revel in the madness. No, it's just bad filmmaking. It's just a messy movie that had a lot of money put behind it, and they didn't know what they wanted it to be. So, here we are. Like, I feel like it's supposed to be this big magical adventure. It's like Universal is like, hey, we can have magical epic adventures, just like Disney or Warner Brothers or all the other studios. And, they can. I mean, probably, but not with this. It's supposed to be this magical journey, but it's just all these, like, fart and ball jokes. These toilet humor. So, on a scale of bad, okay, good, and great, Dolittle is getting a bad. Sorry, folks. That's how it is. Okay, so one more thing before we go. I'm just going to read some comments from my last video. Okay, so William Hadge says, this is part of the DCEU, but only related to Suicide Squad. In the fact that Robbie is Harley again, James Gunn is making the next Suicide Squad movie, which they are calling a soft reboot. So they kind of want to wipe the failure of that movie, but they are keeping Robbie as Harley for this, and she will be in Gunn's movie. Then the guys playing Boomerang and Rick Flag from Suicide Squad are gonna be in Gunn's reboot. He's adding a bunch of other characters that were not in that dreaded movie from the comics, and since Guardians was a success, people are hoping that it will be good, but Robbie is in this, and she's in the next Suicide Squad, so they seem to be happy with her at the very least. Also, of course, they are using this to wipe Leto's Joker away. The character is not in the next film, so really no word on when the Joker will return to the DCEU, at least. Okay, so that's kind of an interesting explanation. It still makes things very confusing about how the DCEU works now. Very, very confusing, but I guess they're just gonna try to have the Suicide Squad movie, the first Suicide Squad movie, I guess they're just gonna try to pretend that it never happened. I really don't know how that's gonna work. Okay. Corey Anus Savage says, I'm in 100% with the little diamond and clown emojis. Alright, see, we got ourselves a Harley Quinn fan here, so yeah, I'm in too. Connor Fitzgerald says, mallet appointment. Well, I did say hammer time or something, so. Fair, Connor. Fair. Looks super fun, says Raquel Paiva. I agree. I do think it looks fun. And also, I didn't know that movie was going to be rated R. I, just found that out, last week, that Birds of Prey was going to be rated R. I had no idea. And I can't wait to see why. I mean, seems like they would play it safe and make it PG-13, but I guess DC and Warner Brothers, they're trying to play it hard, or maybe they saw the success of Joker and were like, hey, R-rated movies are in. Let's do that. Alright, everyone. That's all that I've got for today. I will catch you guys next time. Bye-bye. Whoosh! There's also a variety of animals in this movie, but they're mostly mammals and birds, which, I figure is kind of par for the course, because, they're more lovable, they're warm-blooded, but, where's the love for our reptiles and fish, I mean, the only reptile that gets any love in this movie is the dragon, a mythical reptile, No snakes, no turtles, no alligators, lizards. Oh, but we get insects and an octopus, though. So insects get priority over reptiles and fish. And amphibians. I see how it is. No love for reptiles or fish or amphibians, huh? Now that's cold-blooded.